A welterweight superfight for the ages has been confirmed, shaking up multiple divisions. Islam Makhachev will defend his newly won 170-pound title against the Nigerian Nightmare Kamaru Usman. And, as if that wasn't enough, middleweight king Khamzat Chimaev has finally responded to Nassourdine Imavov's audacious challenge, but not without dropping some unexpected bombs of his own. Welcome back to Combat Buzz Daily. Today we've got a huge update involving Islam Makhachev and the seismic welterweight title fight against Kamaru Usman. We also have reactions from Khamzat Chimaev, breaking info about the controversial nature of Makhachev's title defense choice, and updates on Nassourdine Imavov's direct challenge. Let's jump straight into it. The biggest news dominating headlines right now is the officially confirmed welterweight title clash between Islam Makhachev and former champion Kamaru Usman. Sources across the MMA world, including Dana White himself, have confirmed this unexpected super fight for UFC 327, sending shockwaves through the sport. This comes hot on the heels of Makhachev's historic victory at UFC 322 in November 2025, where he defeated Jack Della Maddalena to capture the welterweight strap, making him a two-division champion after vacating his lightweight belt earlier in the year. While fans are buzzing, the confirmation has ignited a fiery debate. Many are questioning the decision to grant Usman a title shot, especially given his recent record of 1-3 in his last 4 fights, though he did snap a losing streak by defeating Joaquin Buckley in June 2025. However, the new welterweight king Islam Makhachev has been unwavering in his demand for this matchup. In an interview with Red Corner MMA, Makhachev stated that Usman would be the hardest fight for him at welterweight, emphatically claiming that Usman would steamroll through these up-and-comers like Morales, Prates, the striker. Makhachev's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, who remarkably represents both fighters, has also been a vocal proponent, emphasizing Usman's legacy as a former champion with 5 title defenses as a compelling reason for the bout. Despite the fan backlash and accusations of cherry-picking an easy fight, Makhachev stands firm, prioritizing what he sees as the toughest challenge and a massive promotional opportunity. Meanwhile, in the middleweight division, tensions continue to simmer between champion Khamzat Chimaev and the surging Nassourdine Imavov. Imavov made his intentions crystal clear after his dominant unanimous decision victory over Caio Borralho at UFC Paris in September 2025, immediately calling out Chimaev for a title shot. "I am next," Imavov declared, asserting his claim to the middleweight throne. Imavov has since taken to social media, confirming good conversation with UFC. "I told them title shot only." Chimaev, who became the middleweight champion at UFC 319 in August 2025 by defeating Dricus du Plessis, initially offered a brief, respectful, "good fight, assalamu alaikum" on social media. However, the Wolf recently acknowledged Imavov as his next likely challenger, directly messaging him on X with "See you after Ramadan at Imavov16. You have time work on your wrestling bratishka bratishka." This failed challenge comes with an interesting twist. Chimaev has openly expressed a desire to avoid fighting Imavov due to the drama that can arise between Dagestani and Chechen fighters online, despite calling Imavov a good guy whom he has trained with. Regardless of his personal preferences, Chimaev clarified that if the UFC wants the fight, he's never going to say no. With Chimaev not expected to fight again until after Ramadan in March 2026 due to a foot injury, Imavov will have plenty of time to work on that wrestling.
Our top story today involves Islam Makhachev, who has just had his next title defense officially confirmed. According to UFC President Dana White, who made the announcement live on the Stephen A. Smith Show, the reigning welterweight champion will put his newly acquired strap on the line against none other than former pound-for-pound king Kamaru Usman. This blockbuster news has sent shockwaves across the MMA community, igniting widespread surprise and intense fan debate. Islam Makhachev only recently claimed the welterweight title at UFC 322 on November 15, 2025, after vacating his lightweight belt and defeating Jack Della Maddalena in a dominant unanimous decision performance. Many in the MMA world are questioning the validity of Usman getting an immediate title shot, considering his recent record. Prior to a unanimous decision win over Joaquin Buckley in June 2025, Usman had suffered 3 consecutive losses, including 2 to Leon Edwards and 1 to Khamzat Chimaev. Fans have commented on the apparent undeserved nature of the matchup, with many pointing to other welterweight contenders like Shavkat Rakhmonov, Michael Morales, and Ian Machado Gary, who they believe are more deserving based on recent performances and winning streaks. Analysts, while acknowledging the super fight appeal of pitting a former pound-for-pound king against the current one, have speculated that this could be perceived as a legacy padding fight for Makhachev, given Usman's recent form. However, a key figure in pushing this unexpected title fight is Ali Abdelaziz, who famously manages both fighters. Abdelaziz has been vocal about Usman's enduring legacy and skill, stating, "He said he want to fight Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman is 15-fight winning streak, 5 title defenses, greatest welterweight of all the time, beaten all these young guys. What does that do for his legacy? Don't do nothing for his legacy. Kamaru Usman is a very tough opponent, and I represent him too, and it's not an easy night in for anybody. Kamaru Usman is a real deal, and he want to fight the real deal." Makhachev himself has expressed his desire for the matchup, calling Usman the biggest name and still a dangerous opponent. This situation could significantly affect the welterweight title picture and division rankings. With the fight reportedly being targeted for March 2026, the entire division will be on hold as 2 of Dominance MMA's biggest stars clash for gold.
Dana White recently responded to allegations that Francis Ngannou had physically accosted him and UFC Chief Business Officer Hunter Campbell during a dispute. White had previously stated on the Flagrant podcast regarding an incident where Ngannou allegedly grabbed his shirt and pushed him back into his office, where White said, quote, "I said, dude, get your fucking hands off me. I could see in this guy's face and in his eyes and the way he's acting who this guy really fucking is." Dana seemed frustrated, especially regarding a long-standing dispute over a missing $50,000 post-fight bonus for Ngannou. He clarified that while there was a tense exchange, Ngannou did not threaten him, insisting that, quote, "Let me be clear on something too. When I say the physicality, it's not like Francis Ngannou came in here and threatened us or did anything like that." White further elaborated, describing the incident where Ngannou physically prevented him from leaving the office by placing a hand on his chest, saying, quote, "So I started to walk out, and he puts his hand on my chest. He says, 'We're not done talking yet.' And I said, 'Oh, we're fucking done talking.'" This paints a slightly different picture than the initial grabbed by the shirt narrative. This clarification, however, sparked even more reactions online, particularly after Ngannou's dismissive response to White's initial claims. Speaking on the Ariel Helwani show, Ngannou was asked about the alleged physical altercations and simply stated, quote, "In his office, that's what he said, right? Well, I'm sure he has a lot of cameras there." Ngannou expressed annoyance at having to constantly respond to White's allegations, suggesting that if White truly believed his own story, the footage would prove it. He implied he was long gone from that drama and wasn't interested in a prolonged back and forth. Speaking of things getting confirmed, the MMA world is buzzing with a massive fight announcement behind the scenes.
Reports now say the UFC is trying to finalize the welterweight title showdown between Islam Makhachev and Kamaru Usman, with whispers pointing towards UFC 327 in March 2026. Islam Makhachev's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, has been a vocal proponent of the matchup, with sources indicating he said he wanted to fight Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman had a 15-fight winning streak, 5 title defenses, the greatest welterweight of all time. Abdelaziz further asserted that Usman's long-standing contributions to the UFC and his status as one of the sport's most respected champions make him a deserving candidate for a title shot, even taking a shot at Ian Gary by questioning his recent accomplishments. Dana White himself has officially announced the superfight, sending shockwaves through the MMA world. The UFC wants this high-profile main event for Makhachev's first welterweight title defense after his historic victory at UFC 322 against Jack Della Maddalena. However, the very notion of this matchup has ignited a firestorm of controversy across the welterweight division. Many critics, including a significant portion of the MMA community, strongly disagree with the idea of Usman being granted a title shot at this stage of his career, citing his 1-3 record in his last 4 fights and only 1 win since 2022. This has led to the core Usman question: is this title defense a cop-out? Other top welterweight contenders are certainly not mincing words. Ian Machado Gary, fresh off his victory over Bilal Muhammad at UFC Qatar, has been particularly vocal, publicly accusing Islam Makhachev of seeking an easy title defense. Gary didn't hold back, explicitly calling Usman irrelevant in the current welterweight landscape, and suggesting Makhachev's choice would be just Islam trying to get that 17th consecutive win against an easy opponent, someone who was at one point in time somebody, but now is just trying to maintain relevance. He emphatically declared, "I think it's a cop-out," stressing that the champion should face the #1 challenger, and of which Kamaru Usman isn't close to that. This matchmaking decision has undoubtedly affected the division's landscape, pushing back other deserving fighters who have been more active and successful. With Usman at 38,
potentially getting a title shot despite his recent record. It raises questions about meritocracy in the UFC. This could result in promising contenders like Carlos Prates, who delivered a knockout against Leon Edwards at UFC 322, and Michael Morales, who took out Sean Brady, having to wait longer for their earned opportunities. Even Kamaru Usman himself acknowledged other fighters are making their case, though he still sees himself as the most deserving contender for a legacy fight. The debate rages on. Is this a shrewd move for a super fight or a disservice to the legitimate contenders knocking on the door?
Nassourdine Imavov responded to the situation on the Octagon mic and later via social media, saying, "I am next." This was clearly aimed at UFC middleweight champion Khamzat Chimaev and the UFC Brass, following his dominant unanimous decision victory over Caio Borralho at UFC Fight Night in Paris on September 6, 2025. Imavov, riding an impressive 5-fight win streak, asserted his claim for the middleweight title, emphasizing his stylish defeat of Borralho, who had been unbeaten for a decade. Fans reacted with immense excitement, flooding social media with calls for the highly anticipated Sniper versus Boars showdown, and some believe this could set up one of the most compelling middleweight title fights in recent memory. Meanwhile, Khamzat Chimaev initially acknowledged Imavov's performance on X, formerly Twitter, offering a brief, respectful message. "Good fight. Assalamu alaikum." However, the expectation of Chimaev going off quickly gained a nuanced layer. Reports soon emerged detailing Khamzat's personal preference to avoid fighting a fellow Muslim, especially one with Dagestani roots. Chimaev, the newly crowned middleweight king after his August victory at UFC 319, later elaborated on his stance, acknowledging their shared faith and the potential for unnecessary drama due to regional tensions between Dagestan and Chechnya. He stated, "If you ask me, I don't want to fight this guy because we know each other. Like, as a Muslim, he's from Dagestan, and you know how is Dagestan Chechen people. Like, there will be a lot of drama on the internet and all this shit. All these things I don't like about it. But if UFC wants it, bro, I'm never gonna say no." This clarified that while Boris prefers not to face Imavov for personal reasons, he would ultimately accept the fight if the UFC were to book it. This intricate position has undoubtedly fueled more drama and discussion, setting the stage for a highly anticipated, albeit complicated, future clash. Chimaev, currently nursing a foot injury, has even set a timeline, telling Imavov on X, "See you after Ramadan at Imavov1. You have time, work on your wrestling, bratishka," indicating a potential showdown after March 2026.
New reports reveal that the UFC has dropped a series of bombshell announcements for its highly anticipated UFC 324 and UFC 325 fight cards, signaling an explosive start to 2026. Sources confirmed that UFC CEO Dana White unveiled these blockbuster matchups during the It's On seasonal press conference, and fans instantly reacted with massive excitement, particularly with the new Paramount Plus partnership kicking off. These are absolutely colossal stories, profoundly impacting multiple divisions and setting the tone for the promotion's next era. Kicking things off on January 24th, live from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, UFC's 324 is headlined by an interim lightweight title clash that has everyone talking. The electrifying Justin Gaethje will meet the surging UK sensation Paddy the Body Pimblett. With undisputed lightweight champion Ilia Topuria currently on a sabbatical for personal reasons, this bout will crown an interim champion, ensuring the division keeps moving forward. Gaethje, a former interim champion himself, expressed no disappointment, stating, "Interim champion is the same as a champion, on paper, contract-wise. That's what we fight for. This is my job, and it's the biggest opportunity for me." Pimblett, undefeated in the UFC with a 7-0 record, is eager to prove he's ready for the elite, even planning on knocking Gaethje out. But that's not all for UFC 324. The co-main event features what many are calling the biggest fight in women's MMA history, as reigning women's bantamweight champion Kayla Harrison puts her title on the line against the returning legend Amanda the Lioness Nunes. Nunes, who announced her retirement in June 2023, is making a triumphant comeback to reclaim her place atop the sport, with Harrison herself stating, "This is the greatest fighter of all time. For a long time I've said I want what she has. I have a belt, she has a legacy. Let's put it on the table." This truly is a champion versus legend showdown you won't want to miss. Then, just 1 week later, on February 1st, the UFC heads to Sydney, Australia for UFC 325, Volkanovski versus Lopez 2. Featherweight king Alexander the Great Volkanovski will defend his title on home soil for the first time in his storied career, facing off against the formidable Diego Lopez in a highly anticipated rematch. The two first clashed at UFC 314 in April 2025, where Volkanovski captured the vacant championship by unanimous decision in a fight of the night performance. Now, Lopez gets another shot at the title, and Volkanovski is ready to show why he's still at the top, emphasizing that willingness, activity, and big performances play a huge role in securing title shots. This incredible start to 2026 under the new Paramount Plus partnership truly signals a new era for the UFC.
All right, Combat Buzz crew, what a day it's been in the world of MMA. We've seen some absolutely massive headlines drop, shaking up multiple divisions and setting the stage for an explosive start to 2026. First up, the news that sent shockwaves through the entire community. Islam Makhachev versus Kamaru Usman is officially confirmed. UFC CEO Dana White made the jaw-dropping announcement, confirming the lightweight king's audacious move up to welterweight to challenge the Nigerian Nightmare. This is a fight few saw coming, especially after Makhachev recently claimed the welterweight title from Jacques Della Maddalena at UFC 322. While Islam himself calls Usman his hardest fight, not everyone is on board. We heard Ian Gary, for one, labeling Usman irrelevant in the current welterweight landscape and calling the matchup a cop-out for Makhachev, suggesting Islam is looking for a safe opponent. Usman's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, who also manages Makhachev, is reportedly a huge proponent of this colossal clash, rumored to go down in March. Then, the middleweight division exploded with Khamzat Chimaev, the new champion after dominating Dricus du Plessis at UFC 319 back in August, going off in a truly unexpected way regarding Nassourdine Imavov. Imavov, fresh off his impressive decision win over Caio Borralho at UFC Paris, wasted no time in calling for his shot at Boers. But Chimaev, surprisingly, stated he doesn't want to fight Imavov. He cited their familiarity, and more notably, the desire to avoid drama on the internet stemming from the Dagestan-Chechen rivalry, given Imavov's Dagestani roots. Chimaev even expressed a preference for moving up to light heavyweight to challenge Alex Pereira, leaving the middleweight division in limbo and raising questions about his next move. And speaking of big moves, Dana White has been busy behind the scenes. He's just announced the cancellation of partnerships with 5 regional MMA promotions, a significant shift as the UFC gears up for a major collaboration with Paramount Plus and CBS. Plus, White continues to tease a secretive 2025 UFC fight that fans will never effing see coming, hinting at something truly unprecedented that started coming together last night. Could it be John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, as some speculate? We'll have to wait and see. But the announcements don't stop there. The first quarter of 2026 is already looking stacked. Get ready for UFC 324 on January 24th, featuring a massive interim lightweight title fight between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett, and the highly anticipated return of Amanda Nunes against Kayla Harrison for the women's bantamweight strap. A week later, UFC 325 takes us to Sydney, Australia, for Alexander Volkanovski's rematch with Diego Lopez, and circle March on your calendars for a potential BMF title showdown between Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira. What a lineup! What do you think about today's updates? Should Nassourdine Imavov get his title shot against Khamzat Chimaev, or is Boers right to seek other challenges? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe for daily MMA updates here at Combat Buzz Daily. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.